This episode is brought to you by the fabulous members of the You Run Podcast Network, all available at yourunpodcast.com. It has been a long time since we've done a joke, and I'll be honest, most of the jokes we tell when we've done this bit before were always about necrophilia or bestiality or masturbation, and I used to think they were funny. But in truth, at this point, it just feels a little bit like beating off a dead horse.
Dude, there's a reason we don't do this bit anymore.
I agree. I completely agree. Let's start the show.
You want to die tonight?
The dad jokes and tell sets the scene. I hang on every word lost in the screen. Your passion for fear is contagious enough. You make me believe in Mark's overblown roundups. You run podcasts or a movie review, unveiling facts and playing games too. Your words paint pictures of darkness and dread, leaving me grinning long after I fled. But no, you do not want that.
Smoke weed every day. Smoke weed every day.
Just want to party.
Loving this. Loving that, man. Loving this at the moment. These little sound bites as we come in. It gets me really hyped. I like that.
Yeah, me too. Hello and welcome to the You Run Podcast Horror Movie Review, a very special episode. My name is Scott.
My name is Mark.
And for 200 entire episodes, we have been the home of interactive podcasting like no other. You select the movies every single week. You get involved with voicemails, emails, interactive features, comments, DMs, and 99% of those make their way here to the air where we talk about them and share your views of the world. If you are new here, a huge welcome. And this is the most fun you can have on a Monday with your clothes on. Like, that's a fact. And it's true. Head over to yourunpodcast.com. You'll find links to all of our socials. You'll also find links to our amazing true crime podcast and all the other shows of the You Run Podcast Network. If you want to get involved in picking the movies, the next stop you need is at You Run Podcast on Instagram, where there'll be movie polls every single week. You'll also find daily reels, memes, and all your other favorite horror shit that we do, which is lots. While you're there, make sure you visit my co-host with the most. He is at VHS from the Crypt, where he displays an inspiring collection of discontinued technology that for some people, for reason people go wild over. Or at Reviews from the Crypt, where he dives headfirst into a mix of fabulous and fucking god-awful movies, giving insightful reviews. And honestly, it saves you the time in scrolling streaming services. Like, it does. That's going back to the beginning. That's how I met you. I found your account, went, that's cool. I'm going to go watch that. And I still use your account now. If I'm stuck, I'll go on your account. I'll just like flick my finger and stop, and I'll go, I'll watch that.
Yeah, you see, the thing is, though, I'm not a reliable source of good information. Like, my tastes are very, very unique in horror, and things that I often think are amazing. Most people tend to watch it based on a recommendation and come back to me like, are you okay, man? Are you all right?
Yeah, and I think that's why we're friends.
Most probably, yeah.
It is. Don't forget, you can get in touch with us by sending us an email at yourunpodcast.com or recording an audio DM on Instagram or X. You can also create a TikTok where you just say what you want, tag us, and that will make the air as well. Now, this is a very special episode, and I kind of want to get into it, but I'm going to give a little bit of context to people if they're new. So in March 2020, I released the very first episode of what was Home of Halloween's You Run podcast, just a way to share my thoughts with the world and just talk about horror and meet people who also loved horror just like me. Within a few weeks, we received our very first voicemail. That come from Leprechaun82, who I affectionately dubbed Imitation Dave, who still to this day is the voice who opens the show with You Want to Die Tonight. As the show went on, it grew. I made some friends who joined me as guests for episodes. I gave my first ever celebrity interview when I interviewed Naomi Grossman of American Horror Story for her movie 1BR. Fast forward a year, and the show had become like a machine of guests. Like there was a guest every single week joining me to talk about horror movies. Some of these people didn't stick around. Some of them did. Some of them became friends, like Lady Crisis and Skelly. Two of these people became really good friends, best friends, one of which is Heather, who hosts True Crime with me, and the other one is, of course, you. Now, after a few trial episodes in March of 2022, you joined the team as the full-time co-host. And
Trial episodes, man, they are bad.
this,
I don't know how I got the gig based on those episodes, I'll be honest.
so this is our 200th episode, but this is our 163rd episode together. And that equates
Wow.
to 14,670 minutes of audio. That's for me and you as a pair. It's
Jesus Christ.
16,600 minutes for the total run of the show, which for those of you who've listened since the very beginning, and I know there's a lot of you, that's just under 277 hours, which is 11 and a half days of your life you've spent listening to us.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God. That is a length, man. When you break it down into timescales like that, that's a little bit concerning. Guys, go outside, get some fresh air. Seriously.
Go and touch some grass.
Smell the flowers.
Smell the flowers. During the time you and me have worked together, we've tried many different ventures. We had horror movie news. We dabbled a little bit in YouTube, but this has always been where you and me are at our best. This show has been the core. Since you've been on board, we've now formed a huge circle of friends. We've interviewed actresses, directors for top horror movies. We've formed an entire podcast network of like-minded creators, and all of this leading to our 200th episode, which is now. This episode will have callbacks to the entire run of the show, along with some brand new features, keep you fully entertained all the way through. This is going to be a really big episode. It's also going to be a fucking long episode based on the movie we're covering and the shit that I've got planned around it. But it's going to be awesome. As you know, this is Ones We Missed month, and it's meant to be ones that are new movies, but Mark being Mark, picked a movie from the 80s and absolutely trounced everything I had that was new. But embarrassingly, I had not seen this movie until last week.
Which is wild, man. Which is wild. I mean, don't get me wrong. I grew up watching this movie. It's not one that I tend to revisit very often because I'm a Romero fan, and we'll probably dive more into that later on as we get into it. But as an adult now, it was one of those things, you know, I have similar reception with this as what I did with like Halloween 3. Whereas like when I was younger, it got completely disregarded to me as being a thing. Like, no, that's bullshit. Romero is king. When I was an adult, I can actually appreciate this movie a lot more for what it is. So I never used, although I'd seen it a few times growing up, it was always one of those what I'd watch with disdain and be like, nah, this is fucking dog shit. This is just not what it should be. But I'm blown away by the fact that you, of all people, have never, ever seen this movie.
Do you know the worst bit is I was so convinced I had, and I was so convinced that I didn't like it, that every time I've seen it pop up on streaming services or anywhere, I've always gone, no, shit, not watching it, don't want to watch it. When I put this on, I was like, I don't remember this bit. I don't remember this bit. I don't remember this bit. And it got about 20 minutes in and went, I haven't seen this film. I don't know what's going on. I know nothing.
It's such a cool movie, man. I mean, the thing is as well, it's like that Mandela effect thing, isn't it? Where you see images of Tarman and you see trash clips on Instagram and stuff like that, and your mind just plays tricks on you into thinking you've seen the entire context of the movie, when in reality you probably haven't. I mean, even watching it this time around now, for me, there were so many things that I picked up on because I was actually paying attention as opposed to just being a casual viewer. I was like, oh shit, I didn't even know that was here. The Night of the Living Dead conversation, which we spoke about prior before coming on air, which I'm sure we'll get into later. I I'd never picked up on that segment before in my entire life, and I'd seen this movie countless times before.
Yeah. So you get a new job in a warehouse, and your friends are coming to collect you. Only problem is you've unleashed the undead, and while the world is burning, Miss Quigley is unleashing her nakedness on anyone who will look. This film doesn't need any clever introduction. Tonight we're looking at The Return of the Living Dead.
Zombie Reagan says the clitoris is a lie.
So I wasn't hyped for this when this won a poll. I was fucking pissed. I
knew it would win.
I was so annoyed. So I reached out to TikTok and basically went, look, I don't know fuck all about this movie. I'm really not hyped for it. I need someone to hype me up and get me fired up for this. And our friend, good old Chunk,
I was going to say, if it's anybody else, then I'm going to be disappointed.
come wading in, and man, did he hype me up just like this.
Got him, my boy. Do you realize that your fucking audience, your listenership, your fans, I hate that fucking term, have done you a fucking great favor? The people that listen to the You Run podcast just fucking made your show interesting. Not that your show is boring, but Long Legs is fucking terrible. Instead of having to talk about a movie that, like, let's be honest, is a fucking dumbed down version of Silence of the Lambs mixed with fucking art house chic of the current genre of people, oh, I really like art films. I'm so much better than everybody else. Instead, you are getting a fun fucking cinematic experience. Like, to say that you had two diametrically opposed fucking films and you got the better option would be a fucking understatement. And I understand that, you know, art is subjective and everybody's gonna have their opinion of what's good and what's not and all that good stuff. I understand that you guys sat through all of Robert Eggers' films at the beginning of the year as well. This is a palate cleanser from all of that. Don't you want to be happy? Don't you like fun? Sorry, I'm getting ready to take my kid to work, to school. His job is school. Now, I understand not liking zombie films, but you gotta like fun. You gotta like having fun and letting loose and cutting loose and not taking everything so fucking seriously. And that's what you're gonna get with Return of the Living Dead. I'm jealous that you get to see that movie for the very first time. I wish I could see it for the first time again. I wish that I could fucking have that experience. I don't wish long legs on my enemies. The movie, or being like weirdly tall, but only like in the leg region. You guys should thank your fucking listeners because they hooked you up.
He's got a very good point. They have done us a solid.
Honestly, they have as well. So I was excited for Long Legs because it's not the best movie in the world, but we would have had a lot of fun with it. But after the first 5 minutes of this film, I was like, fuck Long Legs. Who cares about Long Legs?
That's the thing, like the movies that were polled against it as well, because of the 200th episode, we've broke the mold for the month sort of category that we're playing against, and you went sort of very modern with the movies you picked, and I was like, no, I'm going to go old school, and I came in here and I picked from all my VHS some of my favorites and stuff like that and put them in. But I'll be honest with you, I knew this was going to win. And the only one that really, really worried me that I think you may have taken the lead on, because as you all know, this is a competition throughout the year. It's Scott polls movies, I poll movies, and then we tally up who's got the most wins in terms of listener requests. And the only one that actually worried me was The Substance. And
Which went out.
and I was like, I think that's going to take it. I think that's going to be the one to beat. And then as soon as that went out, I was like, yeah, fuck it. It's game over, man. It's Return all the way.
Yeah, it was. And I'll be honest, I'm pleased it won. Where do you want to start with this? Because I want to kick off kind of with Freddie and Frank, because
Yes.
these two characters are the absolute core of this movie. You've got Frank, who's the old sort of weathered guy who's a company guy. He's worked at this medical warehouse forever, and Freddie's his new apprentice. I
Yeah.
love these two guys. Like, they are so good all the way through. Their rapport is very much like I am Frank. I am the old weathered guy who's a company man. And when someone new starts, I'm like, we do this and we do that and we do this. But do you want to know some really cool shit? Like I'm that guy. And I
Yeah.
really latched on to Frank. And
The
Freddie,
thing is, I think the thing is as well, between the two of them, you can see it from both perspectives. We've both grown as people. We've both been at that apprentice stage and had the sort of delegation process and the piss taken out of you, especially in my industry as a construction worker. It's go and find me a long stand or go and get me some tartan paint. You know, you've been that young, vulnerable employee who just does as they're told and falls innocently into these pranks and stuff that are put toward you. And at this point in my life now, I now have staff working for me and youngsters coming in daily who straight out of school, and it's hard not to now be frank and be like, hey, you do this, do that, and then rag them along the way and take that little bit of the mickey out of them as you're going. And I think it's such a relatable back and forth and dynamic, and especially when you can see it from both perspectives as well, it makes it truly investable from the off, which is a good way to open this movie, I think.
yeah, it's a really good way to open it. And the thing I did not expect was the flat out. Have you seen the movie The Night of the Living Dead? Like that's based on real shit that actually happened, but George A. Romero had to change things so he didn't get sued. So it's not quite right. But the bodies from that real event, they got shipped here by mistake and they're downstairs. I was like, oh wow,
Yeah.
okay, like we're going there. Like I didn't see it coming at all.
No, no. And I think it's one of the most intriguing elements about this movie in particular because I, like, again, that was one of the main highlights for me where I was like, I didn't remember that scene in particular because my knowledge of horror in general wasn't as vast and as well categorized in my brain as it is now. Um, but where they start diving into that and talking about Night of the Living Dead, I'm like, shit, man, if someone's going to get sued here in a minute. And then they start going into, well, that was a movie and it was a cool movie. And you get into a whole multiverse of that exists within this universe of what we're doing, but that's just a film. But the actual event that did happen was real. And the army, they store the bodies downstairs of the leftover zombies that came from that night. I was like, this is fucking awesome. What such an intriguing concept. How cool is this? And I don't know if you've got it saved for facts later on, but we mentioned off ours. Like, I know there was like a big thing with Dana Bannon, who made this movie, and George A. Romero. The two of them sort of worked together and co-created Night of the Living Dead
Yeah,
and had different ideas of where they wanted the franchise to go going forward for the sequels, and decided to depart from one another and go off and do their own little ventures. Dana Bannon did this, George A. Romero did Dawn of the Dead. I don't know what the initial beef was with them, or if it was just a case of, I think it should go in this direction, which is a more
yeah.
serious tone, which George A. Romero did. Dana Bannon was like, no, let's turn it into a horror comedy and let's make more of a lighter splatterfest with it. Um, do you have more clarification on this story than I do? Because that's bare bones knowledge that I have from when I looked into it years ago.
Yeah, long and short of it is they split. They each had their own direction they wanted to go. There was no bad blood between either of them. This film suffered loads of delays, and Dan O'Bannon deliberately didn't want this to come out at the same time as Dawn because he didn't want it to be. He didn't want that clash.
No,
But with the delays, this come out. I think it was 2 weeks after Day of the Dead, and this absolutely crucified Day of the Dead at the box office. Like left it for dead, and it led to a lawsuit which George A. Romero lost, but they apparently remained friends throughout that process. Like it was
yeah,
very much a this is a business thing. I
yeah,
get
it's the
it.
suits and ties thing. We can just let them battle it out, knowing the full well that we're making regardless.
Yeah, we kind of don't care. Shall we go for a beer? We'll let the lawyers argue it out. Like if you win
Yeah,
and my film production company pay you some money, great. If I win and they pay me some money, happy days. Like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
where it
It's a
was.
producer battle, not a director's battle.
Yeah, and again, like there's definitely two clear routes they took, and they done such a good job of making this such high quality. You can stick this in George A. Romero's world, and it works.
Yeah, and the thing about it as well is the tone, particularly of this movie, makes certain elements of George Romero's universe make a little bit more sense. Like, I know he'd already departed by the time Dawn had come out, but I have to feel like that stupid pie fight in Dawn of the Dead, which is irritating to me. Go back, listen to our Dawn of the Dead episode if you want to hear me talk about that for 47 minutes or whatever I went on a rant about it for. You've got to understand, like, I feel like there must have been some Dana Banner influence in that. You know, like, there has to be in some way, because George A. Romero wanted a straight-laced movie. He wanted a serious tone. And then when you get that final act in that movie, and then I see this, and I'm like, had he actually departed, or was he still involved slightly in Dawn?
Yeah, it's the end of that movie's wild, like
It is,
completely
isn't it?
wild.
But watching this, it's like, surely he's still there somewhere.
Yeah, like if the biker gang rode past carrying pies at any point in this movie, I would not have batted an eyelid. I'd have gone, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. They're meant to be here." But I love the fact that he's like, "The bodies are here. They sent them here by mistake. Do you want to go and have a look?" And he's like, this young kid's like, yeah, that's a great idea. And as he takes him down, he shows him like the skeletons. We get loads of orders for the skeletons. They like the ones with the perfect teeth. We have these really cool half dogs. He's like, half dogs? He's like, yeah, orders for half dogs are like wild. You wouldn't believe it. He's like, that's cool. And you can see this young kid's like, I work in the coolest place ever. Take me and show me the body. And this set design in this basement is so
Cool.
good. It's like
So
a
cool.
shitty, fucked up, ruined basement. And in the corner, they've just slung these canisters that they weren't meant to get. So they've just slung them out of the way. He
Yeah, these
goes over like,
canisters look kind of like the machine from The Fly, but just a really small condensed version that they're
yeah,
keeping these zombies in individual containers in. And I like how incidentally it gets loose, because they lift the lid and it's got like a glass top and you can look inside and you see what will become the iconic Tarman that everybody loves. And he's like, "Oh yeah, this is from the U.S. Army. It's solid. It's made from American steel." Rah, 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 rah. And he slaps the side of it, and it just goes and lets his gas loose all over them, straight in the face of them both.
it honestly is brilliant. And like that's when your title card hits. You get this whole story and stuff before the title card. And it does a really good thing. It does that, and then it goes completely away from it. And you go and meet this bizarre general who's just coming home from work. His wife absolutely cracks me up. So he's like, she's asking him about like when it's going to end. He's like, well, it's going to end when I get the call, and I may get the call today. It may be next week. It may be never. But until then, I need to come home. I need to go check my computer, and this is how it is.
Yeah.
And I love these characters. The wife cracks me up where she's like, you do know your radio equipment interferes with my oven. I died. Your radio equipment fucks up my gas oven. How dare you?
I love how retro his equipment is as well. It kind of reminds me a little bit of this office I'm sat in right now, to be honest.
I think these two are great. And the fact that they bring it full circle later is even better. But this just little, like, because when they're introduced, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care what he's got for dinner. What's going on? And then it just abandons it and goes back to what it was doing. The gang. Let's talk about the gang.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is trauma at its finest. This is class of Newcomb High level kind of stuff, really. I mean, one thing about stuff like this, where you see these kind of tropey characters, whether these punk rockers, are they real? Like, I'm at a point in my life now where I've never met one, I've never witnessed one, and I'm sure in the Cyndi Lauper era of America, they were all the rage. You know, not that Cyndi Lauper fell into that, but I'm just saying. I just. It's so wild, man. It's so wild, with like the chains hanging from his face and the full what's the Johnny Napalm from Guitar Hero, the big massive mohawks and stuff. And I'm like, is it really? You know, I know the Sex Pistols were a thing here in the UK and stuff like that, and people drove around on Lambrettas and thought they were cool, but this is like a really extreme, exaggerated version, and I just want to know: are these real?
Yeah, this is not an exaggerated version. Like, if you go back and look around the time of the Sex Pistols. Like in the UK, there was a massive punk scene with the mohawks and the spikes and the chains, like linked from the nose to the lip down to the nipple. Like that, it was a real thing. And people actually, this is an accurate depiction of how people dressed in that punk phase. It was especially here, like the UK owned the punk scene, and then suburbs of America adopted it and had like their version of it. But it was a UK thing.
Man, the lack of responsibility in these kids.
Why? What have they done wrong? Just because they
Nah,
got
man.
they got cool hair, they got a cool
Yeah,
car.
no, they're disruptive boys. Disruptive boys. Their father should have given them the belt.
See, I love these, and they get that. You get this brief introduction where they pull up outside the warehouse. They're like, "Oh well, we're going to get Freddy when he finishes work. What should we do while we wait? Oh, there's a graveyard. Let's go
Yeah.
in here. Brilliant. But fine, you
Yeah.
go do that." And we cut back to Frank and Freddy waking up, and they're like, "Oh shit, the zombie's gone," and they amble upstairs. The reanimated dog is one of the coolest effects in this. It looks shit, but I really liked it.
I mean, the whole build up to this entire thing is incredible, really, because you basically get that whole Shaun of the Dead-esque moment, you know, where he's walking to the shops before the zombies, and
Yeah.
then they play it again after the apocalypse. They do a very similar sort of thing here, but it's very subtle. So all of the creatures and animals and skeletons and stuff like that that they sort of walk you through at the first stage as they're going down to the basement, they basically do that again, but in reverse as they're coming back up to the offices.
Yeah.
And even such the simplistic things like in the first instance, there's a picture on the wall with butterflies. You know, when you get the butterflies pinned?
Yeah.
But then when they're coming back up, all of the butterflies are flapping on the picture. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. You know, that's so cool. And I like the way that this implicates that the spread of the virus itself as well, very early on, is not your standardized a bite. It's a gas-based virus. You know, the gas is spreading in the air, and it's an air-based toxin, which is really, really cool because when most people do zombie movies, it's a bite thing. It's spread by bite, and which is good because it contains the fear of escape. You know, if you get bit, you get caught. It's basically a game of tag. However, in here, it's if you're in the vicinity, you're screwed.
Yeah, and I love that. And also the effect they've done with the butterflies, that cost less than $1. All it was perforated holes in that piece of paper and a fan behind it just blowing, just on, off, on,
So
off.
clever, man. It's
to
so
make 'em
clever. It's simplistic things like that is why I love movies. It's why I love practical effects. And that's why I get so hell bent about CGI in movies. Because when I see little things like that, and you just said to me, it was basically just holes in a bit of paper and a fan blowing behind it. I'm like, that's just fucking incredible to me. Because that was the most realistic thing I'd seen in this movie. And the fact that it's so simplistic to create, it just like, who created that? Whose idea was it to like, you know what? Put them on there with a bit of tissue paper. Let's put some holes in it and just blow a fan from behind and it'll look like the flapping. It'll be incredible.
Yeah, absolute genius, like real genius, but not as genius as what happens when we go back to the graveyard. So you get Frank calls his boss. He's like, "You need to come in. I've got an emergency." I don't know why he didn't call the police, but he calls his boss. And then we cut back to the graveyard where we get a proper introduction to all of these characters. You've got Suicide, who's the leader of the gang. He's the one who owns the car. He's a bit of a dick, but he's kind of cool as
He's
well.
a misunderstood gentleman, isn't he?
He's very misunderstood.
It's very emotional as well.
Do you think I just wear all of this for my own benefit? I'm trying to send a message. Like he's that guy. And we also get to meet Trash.
Look at that. There's boobies on my TV.
Oh man, how iconic is Trash, by the way?
This scene caught me so I expect it's Linnea Quigley. I'm expecting to see her boobs, and she has some of the most fabulous boobs in the entire world ever. I did not expect to get what I got in this. So we get death makes me so horny. All the clothes come off.
Yep.
but not just the top, the bottom half as well.
Yep.
I've got some really interesting facts about her lower half, which I'll save till facts. But it blew my mind the torment they put this poor woman through to get that right is just beyond ridiculous. Um, I kind of don't know what to say about this scene. It's Linnea Quigley dancing naked.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome, is what it is, man. There's no other way to describe it. It's fantastic. She looks incredible,
Yeah,
at that age, and you look like you do. If someone says to you, "Do you want to do this in a movie?" Fuck yeah, you know,
yeah,
cement
and
that shit in history. When you get to 70 and you look back at yourself doing that kind of shit, be like, yeah, awesome. If
yeah, and we all
I was a god man type of thing. If I was the Zac Efron and Zac Efron in Baywatch, the movie where he's like fucking
yeah,
fully
yeah.
flexing and shit, I'd be like, yeah, man, I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll look fucking awesome. And then when I get to like 40 and I've got kids and my kids are like, yeah, dad, you're a geek and all the rest of it, I'm like, no, check out what I did and what I look like,
Yeah, exactly that. And also, you've got Spider in this, who's the same guy from, is it Friday 5? No, Friday 6.
I can't
Um,
remember which one it is, but yeah, it's the guy from Friday who's taking a shit after eating too many tacos and gets
yeah,
killed by Jason in the toilet.
and he's great. He's great in this. I love his character in this. Like all of the characters in this are really good character actors. They all play a character and they overplay it, and it just
Yeah,
works.
that was one thing I was going to bring to the table regarding the casting in this movie because none of them are particularly great. And I say that as an insulting thing. I don't think that's the right way to describe it. I don't think none of them are particularly not great. I just think everything is such an amplified version of what it should be. It's so hammy.
Yeah,
Everyone is playing up to the camera. Everyone's being so flamboyant and ridiculous. And the only one, in my opinion, anyway, which I think was Tom Matthews. I thought he was the only real grounded character within this movie who showed genuine emotional range and true talent as an actor. And it made him stand out to me. It made him stand out as like the sort of like off link of everybody else because everyone is so theaterized behind him
yeah,
and so dramatically over the top. When the scenes that he's in, where he's actually showing genuine sort of fear for his situation, it's like you're great, but because you're so great, you kind of feel like the wrong part in this movie.
yeah. And I also get that with the guy who plays the owner of the business.
Mm,
Um, like
yes,
he is so
Dallas.
yeah, he's so cut and dry. Like, so he arrives and they explain what's happened. You got the zombie banging at the door from the basement, and he's like, "Well, Frank, we can't call the police because I'm going to get sued because we shouldn't even have these here, and you've opened it, so we're just going to cover it up. Here's a pickaxe, kill a zombie." And Frank's
This
like,
was my favorite part of the movie.
I don't know if I could do it. Why the fuck was Homer Simpson there?"
I wondered this as well. And like, I think it's something to do with
The fact they had some spare yellow paint, like
I
that's
don't
it.
know. I think it's something to do with actual genuine like dead bodies that they do yellow the skin in some sort of. I don't know. I'm not a doctor or a scientist in any stretch of the imagination, but I do think there is actually some sort of medical reason as to why. And I mean, let's be honest. In Dawn of the Dead, they made blue zombies, so
Blue.
it's not really too much of a stretch to wonder why you went eeny meeny miny mo and picked yellow for this movie. So I love this scene though, and I love the owner of the company and how even though everything's gone to shit, he's still delegating and he makes everybody else do everything for him. And he's like, "You open the door. When he comes out, you hit him with the axe, and I'll just hide behind this cabinet while you all do my deed."
Yeah,
um,
it's really that sort of corporate mentality of like, I'm going to protect
yeah,
myself over here. You're the underlings. You deal with this. And the thing that really got me is like zombie movie lore for time
yeah,
immemorial is hit it in the head, sever the head, or break the
kill the
spine.
brain.
Yeah, and that kills it. They take a pickaxe to this thing's head and it does nothing. They then
But it's
cut
not even
it-
just that. It's not even just the fact that they do that. It's the fact that they're aware of this zombie law and they're talking about it. And they're like, yeah, no, the only thing you've got to do is kill the brain. Hit it in the head and that's it. It's dead. Like the zombies are well established in their universe. They know what they are and they commit the acts. They hit it in the head and this thing is still alive, which is just like, holy shit, this is like a game changer. Like how do we move on from this now? Like, because they're not easily dispensable. You can't just take the head off. I mean, they go as far as to hitting it in the head and it's still flapping on the floor. They cut its head off and it still gets up and tries to attack and is running around. And the head on the floor with a pickaxe sticking in the top of it is still trying to get attacking on the floor as well. It's so clever, man. On such a basic level as well. Like, it's so basic to be like, right, well, this is what everybody thinks is going to happen. We'll just do the complete opposite and it'll work. And it does.
Yeah, and honestly, it's so brilliant because you have first time watch for me, I had the oh fuck, that didn't kill it. And then when they cut it up and it's still like flapping around on the floor, they're like, well, hold on. Ernie's a mortician. Let's take it to Ernie's and see if Ernie will like put it in the incinerator for us. Also, the fact that the bosses are called Bert and Ernie had me in stitches.
You ready, Bert? Huh? I say, you ready, Bert?
So clever. I love Bert, not Bert. I love Ernie, and I love Ernie because Ernie is a Nazi.
Okay, clarify.
There's no hiding it. He's got a picture of Ava Braun, who was a very famous person in Nazi times, on his wall. He's also shares the same name as one of the architects of the gas chambers. Like his surname,
and he has dyed blonde hair.
He has dyed blonde hair. He makes a reference to Germany earlier on. He speaks in German. Like, I don't think he's old enough to be an actual like Nazi,
but he's an appreciative of the cult.
He's definitely associated with that world. And like you see it later, like even the gun he pulls out. So when they burst in, he pulls a gun on Bert, and it's like that looks very much like a
SS. Ludwig kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I've never even thought of that, but now you mention it and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, shit, man. Actually, like his whole mentality and his bleached blonde hair and his demeanor and all the rest of it. I bet now with that idea in my mind, if I went back and rewatched this film again, I could probably pull you a list of things that would be insinuative towards his Nazi appreciation.
The one that makes it really dark is that man works with an oven. Like the whole thing ties into it, and I'm like, oh, I don't know why you made that choice, but I've spotted it, and now I can't unsee it. And I like literally every time he done something, I was like, man, you're questionable, so questionable.
Which is a nice little tie into the oven itself, because that brings us to our next bit, which is where they turn up at the mortuary with these chopped up body parts, asking for a favor to burn the evidence, which eventually he agrees to under much speculation. He's like, no, guys, you're full of shit. Like, and then he opens a bag and there's just, you've got it from, not it. Is it from Adam's Family? The thing from Adam's Family. Well, the Simpsons version of the thing from the Adams Family reaches out and grabs his leg. He finally becomes a believer and they chuck it all in the incinerator. And in doing so, they think they've won, but actually in burning that body, the gases from the creature, I don't want to refer to them as zombies because I think there's so much more than that. The creature itself then disintegrates into the air, forms within a cloud, and then rains acid zombie rain down upon everybody in the cemetery and everybody within the area. And I'm like, shit, is that how this is going to spread now? Is it going to spread by like the rain because he's part of the rain particles? And it is, and that's how they do it. And I'm like, fuck, that's awesome, man. That's so cool.
It's such a cool way of spreading it. And also like the bit where everything comes to life in the cemetery, like that first skeleton popping up and like jaw dropping and the fucking like 80s synth wave hitting. I'm like,
the score and the soundtrack to this movie is fucking awesome, man. It's almost like Which Jason is it where you get the Mancini, not Mancini, it's the
Part, yeah,
it's you
I
get the more
want,
the dancey techno version of the Fridays theme tune, not the just
yeah,
it's similar to that throughout, is basically what I'm trying to say. It's a Fred Mancini or something like that. I don't know, I'm circling now. But yeah, anyway, basically that is it consistently throughout. You get that sort of score in this movie mixed in with that punk rock soundtrack with some amazing, amazing punk rock songs. And I'm like, this just fucking feels like a good time in my ears as well as visually for my eyes. Like, this movie is just hitting all the right notes for me.
it is so good. And the decision to keep Linnea Quigley completely naked, minus a jacket for the entire movie, was a bold choice, and it's one that I appreciated throughout. Like, it's
But the
like,
thing is, like, I like that in the cemetery when it starts raining, these sort of acid rain, as they refer it to. She like starts to pick up her clothes, then just throws them and runs off naked to the car. It's not till later on, when about half an hour in, they get inside an actual building, and she just picks up basically a towel, and she
yeah,
only keeps that on for about 5 minutes.
yeah, it is perfect. Um, so Tina, we've not spoken about Tina yet. Tina is Freddie's girlfriend,
I
and she
hate
gets
Tina.
fed up. I'm not a fan of Tina. She gets fed up of waiting, and she goes to the medical supply to try and find him. And obviously, they're at the morgue. And she goes in, and she goes to have a look around, and this is where we meet Tarman. Tarman is without a doubt one of the best practical effects ever put to screen.
Yeah,
It,
amazing,
it
amazing. He looks
absolutely,
so. It's like the dripping moisture of him.
yeah,
That,
and he's made with melted plastic. So all of the things are melted plastic, and then they just cover him with a decent layer of KY jelly
yeah,
before each scene to give him that kind of glossed, gooey effect. He's awesome, like, so good. And you know when she runs up the stairs and the stair gives way? I'm going to burn a fact now. The director and her did not get on. The director did
right.
not tell her that that step was a false step.
Oh, so she
So what,
genuinely fell.
she genuinely fell, genuinely hurt herself, and the director did not give two fucks about it because he got the shot he wanted.
Wow. God bless
Yeah.
the 80s, man.
Yeah, just wouldn't get away with it now. Also, Suicide tries to save her, and he gets his head opened up like a cream egg. The effect on this is fantastic.
And that's again the thing about this movie. Like, the effects throughout, especially practical wise, are so fucking good. Like, much better than this movie deserves for it to be. And that's one thing I'll focus heavily upon in my roundup. Spoiler alert, is like, everything about this movie is better than it deserves to be.
Yeah,
Do you know, it's strange. It's strange because when it opens up and when you're watching these things unfold and you're like, yeah, this is going there, and then you hit these moments of sheer genius with practical effects work, you're like, fuck, fuck that, that's fucking great. Like, that looks incredible. How have you done that? How have you made that look so convincing on what the budget appears to be for this movie? I don't know what the budget actually was for this film, but like, it looks to me like
it was low.
it's a very low budget movie, but the practical effects are like sort of like Damien Leone Terrifier level stuff, and I'm like, fuck, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's so good. Like, everything looks so polished, everything looks so well put together. Like, even the effect of Frank and Freddie. So Frank and Freddie have now got really, really sick, and they call the ambulance. The ambulance guy scene is one of the funniest scenes in this movie, where they check their pulse, they check their heartbeat, and they're like, we're going to go talk over here. And they're like, what's going on? What's going on? He's going, well, you appear to be dead. So, what do you mean I'm dead? He's like, well, you're not dead, obviously, because you're talking to me, but you're
You have no
dead.
heartbeat.
Yeah, and like the rigor mortis starts setting in his arm and his body, like his back's all like that
But again,
scene.
like, the movie itself does such a cool job of explaining rigor mortis properly when they first go into the morgue, and the owner is having a conversation with the mortician as he's, because he does that real weird thing where he's like, he needs his help and he don't want to immediately go in and just go, I need your help, this is what's happening. He sort of like has a fluid conversation with him for a good 5 minutes before he starts drip feeding him the information he needs. And that conversation before that is basically about rigor mortis and how the body reacts in this way and this way. And then when you see it in this moment where you're like, and then he lifts his shirt up and he's got all the bruising and his limbs are tied and he can't move his arms. And he's like, rigor mortis is setting in. This is what's happening to this guy. Even though he's communicating with us and talking to us, he's dying. And that's when we as an audience also realize that he's a zombie. Yeah. He's dead. He's dead, but he's alive. He's functioning, but he's a talking zombie. He's communicating. And man, when we get there, it is killing me when we did it earlier on, when we were talking about the brain thing and they killed the brain, to not immediately dive into talking zombies. So I'll hold it until we get there.
Yeah, like we get Tarman that goes brains, and this is the first movie that done the brains thing. That comes from this movie. Yeah. But the ambulance guys go outside to get some equipment to come and help Frank and Freddy, and the zombies take them and overrun them. The fact the zombies can order Uber Eats is arguably the greatest moment of this movie.
It's so good, man.
Gets hold of the microphone. Send more paramedics. Fucking amazing. And they do it later as well, where they're like, send more cops. It's so good. And they go one step further later as well, because you've got the
female zombie with the like just a top torso, and they tie her up.
Yeah, no, I was thinking more about the intelligence of the zombies, where you get the zombie that's dressed as a cop.
Oh yeah, with the light, and he's like flagging them in.
He in the other cop cars and then stops them, so all of the zombies can swarm on it. Like, the intelligence level of these zombies is amazing.
And the thing is, as well, when we're talking about referring these to George A. Romero movies, and everyone's like, yeah, George A. Romero, The Godfather. But it's like Dan O'Bannon did Night of the Living Dead with George A. Romero. They both went on different paths. But if you watch George A. Romero's movies as they go on, by the time you get to Land of the Dead, he's implementing so much from this fucking movie. You have talking zombies. You have zombies that are interacting and doing exactly the same thing that they're doing in this movie. I mean, you get it with Bubba in Day of the Dead, but not quite as obvious as what you do in Land. But he's kind of, instead of just going full hog with it like they do in Return, George A. Romero drip feeds it with a story behind it and fleshes it out with his, everything's got a meaning. It's all some sort of reflection on the planet and all the rest of it. Whereas here, it's just like, no, this is what the people want. Let's just fucking chuck it in the first movie.
You say that though, but this movie, you mentioned the half woman that they catch in a minute. So this is the first and only movie that has ever explained to me why zombies do what they do. And they do it in such a great way. This half practical effect zombie woman strapped to a bed, and she looks amazing. She's like, we need brains. He's like, why? She's like, I can feel myself dying, but when I'm eating brains, it doesn't hurt anymore. And I sympathize now with the zombies. I understand what their motivations are. And instantly that completely flips how I look at this movie. Because the zombies now are people who have feelings and emotions, and they feel pain. And they're doing this to stop their own pain. So, yes, they're bad, but they're not as bad as just the mindless zombies we normally get. And I love that they took it down that path.
Yeah, you see, I do and I don't. Do you know, like for me, I'm a big zombie fan. I watch a lot of zombie movies, and I just like the sheer mindless savagery that comes with them. But when you add something like this to it, like, I don't dislike it, and I think it works really well in this particular movie. But to then, it's like, do you then take that as gospel? Do you know, like, and you're like, do you implement that to The Walking Dead? And I have that there. That's their theory. Do you implement that to a George A. Romero movie? Do you implement that to 28 Days Later? And think, oh, well, it was established in Return. And I know so many movies, especially within this genre, do pick and choose and cross over with zombie lore, the same way that vampire lore does throughout generations. They do a similar thing. But for me, it works in this movie. Like, it works. but I don't like the emotional level in a serious zombie movie that I like in terms of other sort of films and other franchises. Like for me, this movie works because it's so self-aware and I don't know what the word is to
It's
describe it
almost
really, because
meta.
it's such, yeah, it is almost meta, and it's such an anomaly within the genre that when it starts doing stuff like this, you kind of just think this is such an experimental thing,
Yeah.
and it works in this confined environment. But I wouldn't like to take it and implement it to other movies
No,
and think,
I
yeah.
I,
Do you know what
I
I mean?
don't.
Like, I know I'm
Yeah,
going around the houses trying to get to what I'm trying to say, but like, do you understand
yeah,
the main point what I'm trying to make? Like,
yeah.
it
Works
works here.
here, but doesn't work if you stick it in 28 days later. That's completely different. I get it.
No,
Yeah.
but like,
Uh,
it's good, and it's a very emotional scene. Again, something I wasn't prepared for in this film. It is a very emotional scene, as they say, like how painful dying is, but it also puts the zombies themselves in such a different light. But then it
yeah.
immediately transitions into a full carnage zombie fucking outbreak kind of thing. And again, like, not to criticize this movie because I love it wholeheartedly, but then you get Linnea Quigley zombie and she transforms into something from Night of the Demons.
Look at that. There's boobies on my TV.
Her zombie transformation is fucking incredible. Her makeup
Yeah.
effects that go into making her do that with the wide stretched jaw, she looks fucking awesome. I wish she'd have had more screen time in that transition period. But like her particularly as well, it's like I have lost complete track of where I started with this because that soundbite threw me off because I was paying attention to it.
Well, I could give you another soundbite to bring you back on track.
No, that hasn't helped me in any way for where I was going with my monologue.
Is it not? We'll step forward then, and we'll go forward to
Yeah,
to
please
what
do.
happened. So Freddie, so Tina's like, oh, I want to stay with Freddie, and they lock him in this room, and this is where Freddie turns,
Yeah,
and they
cool.
come in and save her, and Spider throws acid in his face, and this is where Spider and Bert jump in the police car, and they try and get away, and they end up kind of railroaded by
Crashing.
the zombies, and they crash into the warehouse, so then they're there. Um, Ernie and Tina in the attic with the blinded Freddy trying to get to them is awful. Like they've
Awful, man.
barricaded himself in the loft, which thinking about it now is quite poetic for old Ernie, the Nazi
But
sympathizer.
and
Um,
Franken. And
yeah,
Franken his way through it.
exactly. And then down below you've got Tina, I want your brains. It's like, oh man, this is dark. And Ernie is full on going to shoot her. He full
Yeah.
on gets the gun. He's like, I'll just kill you because it's going to be better for
Well, he
everyone.
does he not?
No, he doesn't. So one of the last shots of the movie is Freddy bursting through, and Ernie's still pointing the gun at her. He hasn't shot her yet.
But I mean, yeah, like I mean the ending of this movie, which we're pretty much there now anyway, so we might as well just wrap it up, is bleak. Very, very fucking like Resident Evil 2 Raccoon City sort of level bleak, you know. There is no happy ending for anybody in this film because they all just get fucking nuked by the guy who we saw at the beginning.
My resolution? Airstrikes.
Exactly.
So yeah, they get downstairs to the basement and they try calling the police, and then the police get overrun by they're on the phone. Then they call the number on the barrels, which why they didn't call that at the beginning is beyond me.
Because they would have been nuked 90 minutes ago. That's why.
Yeah, and they get through to the general who nukes him. But we also get the cool scene where he does the I'm going to knock his block off with Tarman and full on takes Tarman's head clean off with a baseball bat, which is beautiful, beautiful.
Really,
scene.
really cool.
They end this with kind of like a conversation between the general and the person who done the airstrike. And he's like, yes, it was less than 4,000 dead. It's like, what? But it ends with the fact that this big explosion has then caused all this smoke to go up into the sky to cause rain clouds that then go everywhere. And they've just made it a million times worse. Honestly, it's fantastic.
It is. It is. It's very bleak. Very bleak. And I didn't expect it because it's such a light-hearted movie in terms of its general tone. I was expecting a resolution.
Well, you
And
got
when
one.
it doesn't, well, yeah, you do get it, but you know, like the type of movie, like if this was a more seriously turned movie, I would have got the ending. You know, I'd have been like, "Fuck," you know, that hits hard. But like this ending for this type of movie, it's fucking wild, man. It's wild, and it comes so left field as well. You're like, "Oh shit!" Like all these characters and people that we've been invested in and hoping for survival,
all dead.
Nope. But again, it kind of comes back to the Night of the Living Dead thing as well. Like that's a very fucking bleak ending. Probably one of the most bleakest endings in cinematic history, really. Unless you've seen The Road. Don't watch The Road if you haven't seen The Road.
The Road's heartbreaking. Viggo Mortensen,
Dude,
one of the
dude, if you like Lord of the Rings and you love Aragorn, don't watch The Road, man. That shit will fucking ruin your life. You will spend weeks in your bed.
It really will. Like the thing is with this movie, like this ending though, I find it so believable.
And remember, kids,
the
next time somebody
very
tells
grounded.
you the government wouldn't do that, oh yes, they would.
Because they fucking would. They would.
Don't get me on my tinfoil hat, Rands. You know what I'm capable of, and you know what this podcast will become if I have free reign.
This is true. Shall we take a break?
I think so.
Yeah, let's. Are you sure you don't want to talk about the government?
I don't, because we don't have the time.
Okay.
It's not
Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Mark J. Parker, and this is Release Date Rewind.
Anniversary in cinema is a huge thing, and Release Date Rewind understand that better than anyone else, as Mark brings guests on his show to celebrate anniversaries of movies, be it 25 years, 35 years, or 40 years. Release Date Rewind is there to cover them all.
That's going to be a very wonderful episode with Okay the Horror Night.
Movies, TV series, video games, deep dive discussions, creator spotlights. LK the Horror Nerd brings so much to the world of horror. This is a show that covers absolutely everything you could ever want, so make sure you check them out. These shows and many more are all members of the You Run Podcast Network, available at yourunpodcast.com. So head over to yourunpodcast.com, check out all the members of the You Run Podcast Network. While you're there, also check out our shop, check out our links to social media, check out everything else you could possibly need. Everything you need for everything is there, yourunpodcast.com. Let's do some facts. So the guy who plays Spider, Miguel Nunez, this is the guy from Friday the 13th, part 6 as well. When he started production for this, he was actually homeless. And he didn't tell anyone on set or anyone in production. Nobody knew, none of his cast members or anything. And he used the paycheck from this to actually get somewhere to live.
That's cool, man. Also very heartbreaking at the same time.
It really is. But yeah, cool. Like he took this role.
It's not an uncommon story, is it, in Hollywood? You know, people go there and give up everything to try and break it. And you find it's more often than not people who do genuinely make these levels of sacrifices that go on to be amazing. You know, like some of the big name stars in Hollywood and stuff like that. You've talked to some of them and like, oh yeah, I was sleeping on a friend's sofa, and I know it's not quite the same. Yeah, I mean, Stallone, fucking hell, his story alone with the whole Rocky franchise and stuff is enough to make any man cry. His documentary that I saw on Netflix recently, the Sly documentary, really, really cool, man. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough gig. It's a tough gig, and it's a big commitment to try and get there. And the people who do actually break it, awesome. They've reaped the rewards, but there's so many people out there that do similar things to the actor who plays Spider in this movie who don't, you know?
Yeah.
And they go on to terrible, terrible lives because they end up on the streets and they end up falling into drugs and they end up falling into prison, or, you know, because
and
that's
then they
just
start
the way it goes.
Then they start a music career, and their name is Corey Haim. No, Corey Feldman.
Now you keep his name out of your mouth. That man is gone.
So when they bring the body parts into Ernie's mortuary, and they're all in the bags, and all the bags are moving, They didn't have a lot of money for practical effects or to make that effect. So what they'd done is, the monkeys with the cymbals?
Yeah.
Like the famous... They bought loads of those and just took the cymbals off them so they didn't make noise, switched them all on and threw them in bags. So it's just
That's clever.
monkeys just flapping around. Again, really inventive because they didn't have much money. So Dan O'Bannon, who made this movie, he was convinced this movie was only going to be liked by horny guys. And had he realized that this would have such a high female following, he would have made Tom Matthews, who played Freddie, naked as well. Because he was that shocked. He's like, shit, if only I'd known, Tom Matthews would have been butt-ass naked along with Trash, and this would have been for everybody. But he didn't, because he thought it would only horny perverts, men, who'd watch this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one of them. That's not the reason why I like this movie at all.
No. Why we're talking about Linnea Quigley, so she done that initial scene, first time, stark bollock naked. The director went, we can't show pubes. You need to shave your pubes. So she went off and she shaved down there, come back and redone the take. Not thinking, the producers or the director, not realizing that once she shaved the hair away, like it doesn't hide anything anymore. So the second shot of this was even worse because exactly that. So they then made a prosthetic. So they put her in a pair of her underwear and they poured prosthetic down there and they basically made her a Barbie doll. Yeah. But she went through that, and I watched an interview with her where she's like, well, they put it on and like it sticks. So when it had to come off, they literally just like ripped it off. Like it's just awful. Like this poor woman. She said that she had so much sort of difficult working conditions doing this movie. It pushed her to taking Valium while filming.
I mean, you say that, but her entire career within the horror franchise is based upon her nudity. At least in the early stages, anyway.
Yeah, it is. But I think for this one, I think this
is the one that pushed her over the edge. This is the one that crafted her career.
Everything I've read about Dan O'Bannon and seen about Dan O'Bannon on set, he was the world's biggest arsehole. He even admitted himself that if you want to see how not to direct people, this is it. And he learned a lot from doing things wrong in this movie that made him better later. Like he was bad, like shouting. He nearly had a full-on like hand-to-hand fight with the guy who plays Frank over decisions he made and how he directed people. Because Linnea Quigley said that when the guy who plays Frank went to hit him, it was like the happiest day of her life. She's like, this is amazing. He deserves that punch.
Yeah.
Trash's death is foreshadowed. Did you catch this? So when she's saying about how much she loves death, she's like, my dream is being surrounded by old men and them all eating me, which is exactly what happens when she's mourned in the graveyard.
Yeah.
The final one, so James Karen, who plays Frank, he come up with his own death where he puts himself into the incinerator, which is heart-wrenching. He becomes a zombie and he kills himself. Now, he come up with that and he sold it to the director as it's going to be really heartfelt and emotional and I'll hang my ring and it's going to be beautiful. Do you know the real reason he done it? He didn't like the idea of being put in all the heavy zombie makeup and he didn't want to work outside because everything outside was done in the rain.
I mean, it's a good get out of jail free card, but I mean, his actual ending, and I'm surprised we didn't touch upon it on the walkthrough, to be honest with you. But yeah, like that was a really heartfelt moment in this movie, and again, something that was so left field for the type of tone and vibe of this film.
Yeah, and again, brilliant. We have some voicemails.
Oh shit!
We only have 2, and no one's attacking us this week.
Oh, brilliant! Okay,
Heather's had a week off.
Someone's been nice because it's our 200th episode.
So let's go with this one.
Wow, I must admit I'm very, very shocked. Just listened to Dawn of the Dead remake. Now, Scott, knowing you don't like zombies, I thought you was going to shit all over this, and I thought Mark would also shit all over it and say how inferior it is to the original, which it is, but it's still fantastic. So, kudos to you both. Nice one.
Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, we both loved Dawn of the Dead, and I knew everyone
did.
was going to be shocked that I
Yeah.
liked it. And,
And
again,
especially
another-
considering how much I'd raved about how much I love the original for the past year or so since I've discovered it. Yeah, I think a lot of people were surprised by my reaction to the remake, because I know people were expecting me to be like, it's not as good as the originals. It's not. No, fuck off, man. No, I'm a champion of remakes, especially when they're handled as well as they were in Dawn of the Dead.
Exactly. We found another zombie movie that I like in this one. Maybe I'm coming round.
We're on a roll. We're on a roll.
We are. We've got another one.
Hey guys, here with a movie request. So I know you don't typically do Pride Month, but I thought this one would be good for June. It's called Poltergeist, and yes, it's as stupid as it sounds, but the entire film is basically 5 gay ghosts that haunt a straight couple that move into the house that used to be a nightclub, that they all died at. So I think it'd be quite funny for you two to review.
Oh, it's too gay in here.
We don't do Pride Month, and the reason it's not because we don't support Pride, because we do. We've got lots of gay friends, and we're very much like, yeah, gay's great, love gay, but we don't do Pride Month because every other fucking podcast does Pride Month. That's the reason we don't.
And the thing is, as well, for me, is like,
every month is Pride Month.
Well, for me, yeah. No, do you know what the thing is, right? Like, I have a lot of gay friends, friends that I can openly discuss stuff with.
You suck
and like, they're like, no, but like I'm a very outspoken person. Those of you who listen to this podcast know, like, I will just speak before I think, and I'll say things before I think. So when people request things that handle delicate situations, more often than not, I will tend to get myself in hot water. And it's not because I'm insensitive or I'm cruel or have a certain belief system regarding what it is. It's because I'm inquisitive. So I ask questions and I like to be educated and I like to understand. But more often than not, that comes across as...
So I think there's a safe way of doing this. Shall we do Poltergeist in June for Pride Month, but bring Jay on the episode as well? Because
I think if we're going to do that, we have to bring Jim on as well, because Jim's on my wavelength, so Jim can understand my ignorance, if you will. But Jim gets it, and I can talk to Jim, and I can be like, rah, rah, rah.
If we bring Jay and Jim on, we're going to have Jay and Jim Poltergeist in June.
Yeah. 2 straight men, 2 gay men. That would be fucking wild. If they both agree to do that, that would be the most insane episode we've ever done.
Gents, the gauntlet is laid there. Jim and Jay, I know you're both listening. So Jim and Jay, the gays, if you would like to come on and join Mark and Scott the Straights and do Poltergeist for June for Pride Month, drop me a message or call in and we'll make it happen.
That would work just purely based on the fact that they would both be there understanding the person that I am and being able to justify the questions and the things that I was saying, knowing that I wasn't being offensive or rude or ignorant to anybody. And they'd be like, no, Mark, this is why, and this is why this is this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay. Well, the gauntlet's there. If they want to do it, it's open. If they don't, I think you and me alone will probably leave that alone.
I think so too.
I threw a lot out this week. It's episode 200, and I wanted to involve as many people as possible. So I threw a lot of shit out there in just the hope that something would stick. One of those was Playground Insults, where I give our listeners the opportunity to brutally take us down however they saw fit in the most childish playground way. You're going to rate these out of 5 for how brutal they've been. So the first one comes from Dave B Movies. Scott is so old he used to throw stones at raptors to make them chase him as a kid, And Mark forgets so much, his memory is suing him for memory loss.
I like the old joke, but then you came at me, man. I feel a bit offended. I'll give that a 3.5 out of 5.
Okay. Dewey Podmonster went with Scott lost a fight with the toilet and Mark looks like Dick Dastardly.
Do you know what the thing is about that? Like, I'm so committed to it now. You can't really tell. Do you know what's weird about it? The longer it gets, the blonder it gets. So the more noticeable it is. Like, if you go back to when it was shorter, when I first started growing it in like November, October time, it was like a really pencil thick twirly mustache. But now it's like thick, like a proper thick mustache. But it's, I don't even know if I can see it. I don't know if I'm just so used to seeing it or if you can't even tell anymore.
I can see it. Like, mine's got long enough now that I can do the whole twizzle the
That's
end.
awesome, man. You look like Captain Hook.
I do a little bit. How do you rate that one?
I will give that a 2 out of 5. That was too tame. You know, I feel like you could have done better.
Oh, you're going to like this then, because Under the Floorboards went with, you guys look like you suck dick for bus fare, then walk home.
Yeah, okay, I'll take that. That's a 4 out of 5. That's a 4 out of 5. I haven't had anything proper brutal yet.
Video Tasties. I think this is aimed at you, however, could be aimed at both of us. Your facial hair looks like something out of a 70s porno.
70s vibes this is giving me, bro.
I wear that as a badge of honor. I do. Call me Tom Selleck. I like it. Turns me on.
How are you rating Gareth's?
That was poor, Gareth. You know me and Scott very well, and I feel like you could have done better. You get a 1.5 out of 5.
Mark's arch nemesis, randomly Eric.
He better bring his game this week.
He went for me and left you alone, which I'll be honest,
nice.
Eric, I don't think is right. Like, something.
No, especially not on this episode.
Yeah. Colonel Cockring, I heard the piercer had to use the needles for the tiniest nipples.
Oh, me and Eric are getting friends, man. We're becoming tight. We're becoming tight, and I like it. Yeah, that's a solid 4. It's a solid 4, tiny dick.
And and finally, our 200th episode would not be complete without a comment from Imitation Dave, who has nailed us to the fucking floor. You guys look like you should have a podcast where you rate IPAs and vape juice flavors.
I would happily. I feel like I could condense more content talking about IPAs than I do about horror movies. I'll be honest with you. But hey, man, don't come at us like that. This shit's free. Just remember, this shit's free. All right, you get this content. You get 11 days of content a year for fucking free, guys. Be nice.
Yeah, exactly that. They weren't all the ones we got, but they were the absolute best. The others were people who they come at us, but they come at us in a, I don't want to be really mean because I quite like them kind of way. And I was like, no, that's not what I want.
You're missing the point.
Yeah. We've introduced a new feature, which is what happened next. So I put this picture up. What happened next? Wrong answers only.
This better be gold.
As soon as I put it up, I went, I even put in the post, I may regret this, but I didn't. Everyone was pretty good. Movies for days. He presents her with a plate of those damn enchiladas.
Yes. Oh, I said tacos earlier, didn't I?
You did. Lumberjay reviews. This is Jay. Jay went with a fart slips out. Mike the movie misfit went with she shoots a ping pong ball.
Ooh, what's that one in Benidorm? What's that one in Benidorm? That mother and daughter Sticky Vicky.
Yeah. Hey, Internet Eric here went with simply herpes.
Venereal disease.
We had See, I love this one. This is Paintbox teacher Nikki. So Nikki's a teacher who teaches kids how to paint. But she listens to the show and she shares shit that probably a teacher who teaches kids how to paint shouldn't share from her teaching page to us. She went with, they put a fake pussy on. I can't believe to this day it was fake and someone had the job of making that. I know this answer isn't wrong, but I couldn't help myself. And this is from her company page, which is awesome.
Imagine all those disappointed teens who had spent years masturbating to this movie only to discover it was plastic.
Yeah, exactly that. Tragic Ra went with the doctor tells her to scooch forward just a little. And Nightmare went with Riverdance, the black metal edition. Adrition, yeah. Adrition.
It's not very often you stumble. That's usually my thing.
I something fuck that. A huge thank you to everyone who's been involved this week. Like all of the voicemails we get, all of the features we get, everything you do makes this show what it is. Your interaction is what makes the You Run podcast the You Run podcast, which almost seamlessly, like seamless this is, leads me in to another poll we put out this week. So we put a poll out asking whether Mark should be quizzed on this episode.
Fuck off, man.
This poll received over 480 votes.
Holy shit.
And of those votes, 87% said yes. Like,
you horrible, horrible bastards.
Now, I'm going to quiz Mark today.
It's been a while, let's play a game. Something new to make Mark insane.
No, I'm not ready. No, I'm not ready for that.
But I'm not going to do it with that. I'm going
nice.
old school on your ass because we're going to play Save Me.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
Here's Johnny. What's your favorite scary movie?
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Groovy.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
It's all for you!
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
The census taker once tried to test me.
So
you didn't see that on camera, but I just threw a tantrum and lost my headphones for a little bit.
I saw it on camera, and I'm hoping when I come to edit it, I can bring that onto screen. This game is old as fuck. The last time we played this is in 2022, and it was when you hit the maximum score and put this quiz to bed forever.
So reigning champion once, reigning champion again. Fuck this game. Let's do it.
So I've resurrected it. It's 10 questions. You get 3 save me's you can use that like lifelines.
Like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Exactly like that. It's almost like we took Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and we stole their format and created a quiz called Save Me. It's very similar to that. You answer all 10 questions regardless. It doesn't end if you get one wrong. You have 3 save me's. Your save me's are give me a clue.
Yep.
Skip it and get the points anyway.
Yeah.
And an easier question.
Right.
You can use all of those save me's, and the goal is to get all 10 correct. These are all general knowledge horror questions.
I should nail this. This should be an easy win for me. I've done it once before. I could do it again. I've had more experience in quizzes now. Broken Spirit. Demolished Save Me. I've got this. I'm not worried. And we're
going to try something new we've never done before. We're going to try and add a bit of backing music to this. I do not know how.
Okay. I thought he was going to throw a curveball into the quiz and you have to do this on one leg.
No. I'm going to add some backing music. So here we go. It's working.
Oh, that's a vibe.
It's working.
Oh, fuck yeah, I like that.
I'm more impressed that it's working. I can still hear us talking. It's not overcut us. Question number 1. Who directed The Exorcist?
Shit.
You have your save me's there if you want.
No, not. Oh my god! How do I not know? Right, hold on. Let me just. I wasn't in the zone. I was getting giddy. It's the 200th episode. I was getting confident. I lost my way a little bit. Shit. I want to say William something, but I can't risk it and go out on the first question. And I'm going to use
You don't go out. You just get it wrong.
I know I don't, but I don't get top points either. So I'm gonna use a save me. I'm gonna ask for an easier question and get that one out of the way now, because I just feel like my mind's just a little bit stumbled. So let me get it out of the way. I'm gonna decompress while you reorganize, and I'm gonna start again with 2 save me's as opposed to 3, and then we'll go.
Okay, so the correct answer was William Friedkin. You were almost there.
I knew it was. I was gonna say that, but for some reason it just felt wrong to me. My mind's not in the right place. Right, here we go. Come on, let's go again.
Easier question. In the movie Zombieland, who plays the lead character Tallahassee?
Woody Harrelson.
That is correct. Well done. Question number 2. Who is the author of the 1974 novel Jaws?
Dude, what the fuck are these questions? Seriously, what the fuck are these questions, man?
These are general knowledge horror questions.
No. I'm a horror movie fan. I'm not a fucking book reader. I read books occasionally, but I'm not a book reader to know who the fuck wrote Jaws.
Well, you have 2 save me's. I mean, you could just skip this and get the points.
Bullshit. Skip the question. That's fucking nasty, man. That is nasty. I know what you're doing here. I see where you're going.
You're gonna, as soon as I say it, you're gonna fuck. I knew that. It's Peter Benchley.
No, I didn't fucking know Peter. Who the fuck knows Peter Benchley, man? Who the fuck knows Peter Benchley? You sat here talking to me about a quiz about horror movies, and you throw in a fucking author of a book like William Shakespeare. You're out of order, man. You're out of order with that question. That's not fair.
Call in if you know who Peter Benchley is. Question
fuck
number
you.
3. You're still doing well. You're 2 for 2.
Oh yeah, brilliant. Cheers, mate.
What is the name of the motel in Psycho?
The Bates Motel. Well, what a proper generic question that most people would know the answer to for a basic level 3 question on a quiz.
Question number 4. What 2007 Spanish horror movie is directed by Juan Banyana and produced by Guillermo del Toro, picturing the deceased bodies of children?
The Orphan. Or Orphan. Orphan or The Orphan?
Orphan what?
Orphanage.
There we go. 4 for 4. Well done. Question number 5. In what film would you find the ship, the Nostromo? Or the Nostromo?
Alien.
That is correct. 5 for 5.
Do you know what? I fucking know what you've done. All right.
You've got 1 save me left. Question number 6. Who directed the 2018 film Hereditary?
Ari Aster.
That's correct. Doing really well. You're 4 to
am
go.
I?
Question number 7. What 2014 horror film is based on the alleged true story of the Perron family?
The Perrin family?
Perron.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, what 2014 film is based on the alleged true story of the Perron family?
What's my save me for this?
Your save me you have left is give you a clue.
The music's not helping, man. I don't like it. I was on board for first. I was on board for it at first.
There you go. I've taken it away. I've made your life easy. I used to edit that in after.
The silence isn't helping either. I want to say The Conjuring. That's my initial instinct, but I don't know if 2014 is too early. But I feel like I don't know the cases well enough. My also another immediate response would be The Exorcism of Emily Rose, but again, Don't know.
That'd be the Rose family, just to give you a hint.
I didn't know if that was their middle name or not. You know what I mean? It's double barrel shit. I don't know. I tell you what, right? I'm going to go with The Conjuring.
That's correct. Well done.
Thank you.
You got 3 left. Question number 8. What weapon is used by the Tool Man in Phantasm?
It's the Sophia ball floating thing. I don't know what the actual name of it is.
It's awesome and one of the best effects.
The orb. I think it's called the orb.
Yeah, the orb or the sphere, either one I'd have accepted. It's the ball he throws at them with a spike on the end of it.
Yeah, that drain, the kill where it sticks in the head and then like all the blood spouts. It's so cool.
This question is actually a question that you got wrong on the very first quiz you done. This was the first ever question you got wrong.
Get this wrong again.
And it took you out of the quiz. And this is, how long is crime legal during the annual purge?
My immediate reaction would have been 24 hours.
I reckon I could play these clips side by side.
Fuck! The annual purge. I want to. No, it's not. It's not because it's from like night till morning. So it's got to be 12 hours. No, because 12 hours is not. Right. I'm going to use my lifeline. Is it? I'm second to last, right?
Yeah,
I've got 2. I've got
last.
one question after this.
Yeah.
I'm going to use my lifeline for a clue, but just know, right? Just know, you know where I am in my mind, and you know what I'm thinking about. If you fuck me on your clue, I'm not going to be your friend anymore.
Okay. Well,
and I genuinely mean it. I genuinely mean it. We will have a fallout. And we've never fallen out in the whole years we've been friends. If you do me dirty here with this save me, I'm going to be genuinely pissed at you.
Right. So your clue is, how long is it legal for crime during the annual purge? It is somewhere between 10 and 14 hours.
Oh, okay. That actually helps.
Which gives you the choice of 11, 12 or 13.
I'm going to say 12. I'm going to say 12. My final answer, because that's a midpoint, and that makes the most logical sense in a 24-hour day.
That's correct. You are now on the final question. And
we're still friends. That's cool. I like that.
This is the hardest horror question I have ever written.
Okay. If I nail this first guess before you even finish reading the answer, I'll be amazed.
It references a film that I know you will have seen because it sits in your time frame of horror, but it's a fucking obscure one. This is one I think you've reviewed on your page as well. So, what 1997 horror movie, right in your wheelhouse, is about a vengeful spirit that haunts a website?
1997.
Yeah, vengeful spirit who haunts a website, and it's a remake. If that helps.
Vengeful spirit that haunts a website. How do you haunt a website?
You get on the website and you go, ooh.
Fuck off. How do you haunt a website? That's like the most, like my initial idea is like The Ring sort of esque stuff where it's like video.
It's like that, but on a website, not on a videotape. It's 1997, man. People know the VHS is no longer a thing. DVDs are available.
And it haunts a website.
Yeah, it's really hard.
And I've definitely reviewed this on my page.
I think you've reviewed it. You will have definitely seen it because it's 1997 and this was a fairly big movie when it came out. I imagine the VHS for this is rare as rocking horse shit as well.
I hope I own it, whether I fail this quiz or not. And it haunts a website.
It does.
How do you haunt a website? I feel like the lack of context is what's making this really difficult for me.
I'll give you another clue.
How do you haunt a website?
You don't deserve one, but I'll give you another clue. So it haunts the website, and as people go on the website, it then forces them to commit acts they don't want to do. Normally on themselves.
That hasn't helped at all, to be honest with you. I'm sure there's millions of people. I wish we had millions of people listening. I'm sure there's tens of people listening, screaming down the podcast now.
There's 3 people right now screaming at you.
And it forces you to do something to yourself.
I'm going to have to
push the only thing I can think of in that kind of similar vein is like stuff like Truth or Dare. Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of vein of thing. But that's like well later. That's a lot later than 1997.
It is, yeah. This is one of the first to do this kind of.
I'm gonna guess because I don't know. And the only thing I can genuinely think of from that era is fear.com.
Did you guys see my cooch and my butt? Say yes if you did.
It was the movie Pulse.
Ah, that is the most fucking straight to DVD bullshit movie I've ever seen in my life.
I quite like Pulse. It's quite a good movie.
No, it's not. It's dreadful. It's dreadful. I didn't do bad. I got there in the end.
9 out of 10. That's you flew through it, and you done better than I thought you would. I deliberately put hard ones at the beginning to make you use your.
Oh, you didn't, did you, mate? Nobody picked up on that.
Did they not? I thought I hit.
No, I don't think they did. Fuck you, man.
I feel like there are illegal Mexican immigrants involved in this.
Right, let's round this up. I'm going to round this one up first. This is a first watch for me. This movie is fucking incredible. There's none of the bullshit stuff you get with normal zombies that annoy me. There's none of, we need to get to here to save this person, or we need to get to there to find shelter. Whenever people move from place to place, it's because they just kind of have to. It's like, if we don't leave here, we're going to die. Oh, fuck, the zombies have forced us here. It's that instead of let's go here and brave the zombies. There's none of that. They flip zombie law on its head. You can't kill a zombie by hitting it in the head. In fact, you can't fucking kill a zombie at all. No zombies in this die apart from in the nuclear blast at the end or in the furnace.
Which they don't technically do either.
Exactly that. They're really, really intelligent. They're hilariously funny. The zombies going, send more cops, send more paramedics. It had me dying with laughter. Practical effects are fantastic. Casting is great. There is ample amounts of boobies in this, which in an 80s movie I look for and I really appreciate. This is as good as a zombie movie gets for me. And I'm embarrassed that this is my first watch. I cannot emphasize how much fun I had with this movie. This gets my first of the year, my full 5 out of 5. This is a perfect zombie movie. It can't do anything better than this. This is fucking incredible without a doubt in my mind. Full marks.
Wow, that is a fucking high-rated score, man. Especially for a movie like this as well. I know it has its cult following. I know people appreciate it, but especially for somebody who doesn't like zombie movies, I was very surprised you went that high.
The thing is, it's not a zombie movie. These aren't zombies. They follow all the same tropes as zombies, but they're not your stereotypical zombies. And I think that's why I like it. The fact that at one point, one of them strips a policeman naked, which you don't see happens off camera, gets dressed in his gear, and then flags down other police cars to trap them. This isn't a zombie movie to me anymore. Like, zombies don't do that. Zombies don't get on a radio and call for more people to eat. Like, it's so clever. It's awesome.
It is. And which brings me into my roundup, which is basically emphasis on everything you've just said, really. I mean, I think the fact that they take such normalized zombie lore and in a way completely flip it and do the opposite. while still staying grounded to what people can digest and what people understand and what people expect when they're coming into the movie, but then implementing those variations is such an engaging hook throughout this film. So when
Yeah.
these moments happen, when the zombies start speaking, when they start doing different variations, when the spread happens in ways that you're unexpected, you're sort of sat there and you're like, oh, holy shit, because the build up to each individual moment where things do flip on their head, like you've discussed, is quite bland. It's quite B movie esque, and it takes those moments to bring you back in and make you be like, oh, holy fuck, that's not what I expected. That's not how I expected that to go. Because this movie is B movie glory in its finest. If you discuss B movies with most people, they would be like, Return of the Living Dead is B movie gold, and it is of the highest quality. But it has that added level of element to it where things such as what we've discussed, where they do change things up so much that when you find yourself in a lull, as you would do watching a standardized B movie, where you're like, I know what I'm here for. This is a standardized rise. We're just going to go with it. And what happens. And then you get these elements where, shit, I didn't expect that. Or, oh, that changed from what I normally wanted that happen to. Your mind is just completely engaged again and you're back in the moment. And this movie does that throughout. It just brings you back in time and time again. You find in that lull of standardized horror tropes, and then all of a sudden something different will happen that makes you think, fuck, I wasn't expecting that. That's cool. In terms of direction, I think it's all right. It's all right. I'm not going to say like, yes, this is fucking Oscar worthy directed. It's not. It's not.
No.
It's a B movie, and it's a high quality B movie, but it is still a B movie. And the same again can be said for the cast. It's a B movie. You've got B movie cast throughout. Regarding Tom Matthews, which I've already mentioned earlier on in the episode, everything about this movie should make it be a straight to video movie that certain people appreciate and certain people love, but it has such an injection of quality and intelligence throughout within its writing that separates it from the rest while still welcoming new fans and diehard genre fans of B movie classics. For me, I love it. I think it's a fantastic horror movie. I think it's a fantastic movie that anybody who considers themselves a horror fan should have as a badge of honor. If you are a horror fan and you haven't seen Return of the Living Dead, you are not a horror fan. Is all I'm going to say to you.
I'm a
And I
horror
know
fan.
that sounds and I know that sounds insulting to you, and I know that sounds insulting to a lot of people. But my point is like this is such a staple of iconic cinema within the genre. People talk about this movie. You see flash bits of this constantly daily on your Instagram reels if you follow certain horror pages, and more often than not, people are like, oh yeah, the naked Linnea Quigley movie, or oh, it's Tarman the Brains kind of movie, who haven't actually seen it, which you yourself have said you are very culpable of. You've done that. You've been that person.
Yeah.
But I urge every single one of you who is a horror fan, who thinks they've seen this movie or hasn't seen this movie, go and watch it, man, because it deserves respect. It deserves appreciation. It's a fantastic horror movie. There is so much about this movie that shouldn't work from every single aspect. Yeah,
all of it. None
from
of it.
Every single aspect of it. None of it should work. The direction's subpar. The casting is average. The practical effects are fantastic. The storyline is as basic as it comes. But collectively, this movie is fucking awesome. From start to finish, it is a 5 out of 5, and I cannot grade it anything less because that is what this movie is. It is pitch perfect throughout. And the whole time I was watching it, I just felt myself sat there being like, this isn't right. This doesn't feel right to me because this shouldn't be working, but it is on so many levels.
Yeah.
I think it's flawless, and I hope more people come to that realization throughout the discovery of it, and especially from listening to this podcast who haven't seen it. Just go check it out, man. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and I second that. Like someone who hates zombie movies, someone who it's not their thing at all, Like, I went into this with like, I'm gonna hate this. I don't want to watch it. It's a B movie zombie. It's gonna be dog shit. 5 minutes. 5 minutes in, I was like, this is it. I'm in. I'm fully engaged. Like, I don't know what it is. There's just something about it that just hooks you, and it really did. It's fucking awesome. Do you know what, Mark? Because I deliberately didn't do it earlier to throw you off guard. Recommended account of the week.
And now you're going to die.
That's enough raving for you.
No, I don't, 'cause I can't find my account. I was too invested in the moment. Right, I've got it. I've rolled the sleeves up for this as well. This account is, of course, as usual, an Instagram account, but hold with me, this one has a twist. This is surprise _ sister Pam, and that is spelled surprise _ SISTA for sister, and then Pam, and of course, is PAM. The reason why I have chosen this account in particular this week is her Instagram isn't very active. It hasn't been active since like August 2024. It's not the Instagram account that I'm expecting you to go and follow. It's her YouTube page. I don't have YouTube links because I'm a granddad. Go follow her on Instagram. You can click on her links to her YouTube page. The reason why I've been so hell bent on this account at the moment is because she is like, all of a sudden she seems to be the major scoop on everything Dexter. And with Dexter Resurgence that's coming up in the summer, she seems to be getting all like the behind the scene photos and major scoops and everything that's going on and set leaks and things like that. And she has a YouTube channel where she's basically every time a photo is released or anything like that, or there's new details linked about cast members being announced, she's putting up YouTube videos daily and hourly if it comes up to that point. And it keeps popping up on my YouTube link feeds where I'm just like constantly watching her videos. As you know, that's the thing about technology. We talked about tinfoil hat shit earlier. I'm watching Dexter. I'm talking about Dexter in my daily life. All of a sudden, my YouTube algorithm is everything Dexter, and her account is one of them. Yeah, man, and her account is one of them where it keeps popping up and like, oh, watch this video. She's talking about Dexter. And it did, and I started watching her videos, and she's very on point with daily videos regarding what's coming up with Dexter Resurrection in the summer. So if you're interested, you're a Dexter fan, go find her on Instagram. It'll take you to the links for her YouTube channel. You click on her YouTube channel, watch her videos. She's fantastic. She's a really cool gal, and she's really interested in horror as well, especially the Dexter stuff at the moment. I'm sure she'll have other content after Dexter Resurrection comes out. But yeah, man, I've been watching a lot of her videos at the minute. It's been really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, and Dexter Resurrection is probably a season that I'm the most excited for. Like, that sits up there with The Last of Us Season 2 for my excitement level.
Yeah, my most anticipated thing of the year, to be honest with you, especially after watching Original Sin a couple of weeks ago.
Was so good. So good.
Well, I'm currently burning through the original stuff, so I've just finished season 3, the Miguel Prava stuff. Yeah. So fucking glad to be at the back of that. I was one of those things as well. I was talking to Lumberjay the other day, because Lumberjay is currently, he started Dexter for the first time, and we're kind of on the journey together, not necessarily in sync, because I binge a lot more content than he does. But he's sort of started season 3 as I was just getting to the end of it, and I was like, I'm fucking so glad to see Miguel Prava get on this deathbed. And I always used to hate season 3. I always used to be like, no, man, season 3 is a fucking drag. Let's just get to the Trinity Killer. But I actually enjoyed it this time around. Like, it was a really cool season, and I think because season 4 with John Lithgow as a Trinity Killer is such a fucking sort of like, it's a pinnacle of that show. Like, it's such a cool season. I kind of always underestimated season 3 because you got season 1 with the Ice Truck Killer, fantastic. Yeah. Season 2, which is like the Dokes versus Dexter kind of season, and then you get Lila introduced. Yeah, and you get that Lila introduced into that season as well, which is cool. And then you get the Miguel Prava season 3 stuff with the Skinner as well, which I completely forgot. And you got John Diggle from Arrow in and stuff. Like, that's a really cool season, but I think it's just like the penultimate season before the incredible season 4, which is like the best Dexter's ever been. It's like I got to season 3, I was like, oh, I just want it to be over already because I'm ready now. I'm ready for Trinity Killer stuff. I digress. I have no idea what we're talking about. I just went on a massive tangent there.
And I think now's a good time to let everyone know at some point we have a new show coming that's going to be exclusive to Patreon. You talking about Dexter's instantly made me go, we're going to do a Dexter episode over there. The new show that's coming to Patreon, you are going to have to pay for, I'm afraid, folks. You are going to get other stuff with it, but it's not going to be horror movie reviews. It's going to be lots of other stuff, horror adjacent. So we'll talk about horror. We'll do a mixture of everything. As it comes closer in the summer, we'll give you loads of details about it. But me and Mark shell out a lot now with the website, with the software we use. Like, there's a lot of cost that goes to it, and I'd like to recoup some of those back so it's not coming out of our pocket. Like, this show will always remain free. I've always said that. We're just going to do another show that you can pay for if you love us and you want to be rich and famous.
Yeah. And the thing is, as well, it's not even just about that, man. You know, it's not just about billing content. You know, if you like the main show, and even if you're not even interested in the fucking content that we put out on Patreon, just donate. You know, it's a donation sort of thing. Like, you like what we do, you like what it is. Help us grow and help us. Like, everything we get from that is not gonna fund our careers. It's not going to change our lives. It's not going to make us quit our jobs, but it will help finance the show in a way that we can make things better. You know, we can do more content. You know, like we can afford to maybe do day trips out to see things. We could maybe arrange to do meetups and do like live content of screenings of new horror movies that people want to see us discuss. Me and Scott live quite far away from one another. You know, but like the money that gets plowed out into Patreon might then enable us for once a year to get together and have a meetup and do a live streaming where we go and watch a content of a horror movie, and we can stream that for you. We can stream our reactions. We can stream our content. It doesn't matter what we spend it on, but all you need to know is that whatever money you donate is going to go back into the show in order to make this better, bigger, and more valuable to you as listeners and audiences. We're not going to take that money and go buy ourselves a pair of new trainers each week. You know, it's
no, and not only that, you're also going to get a lot for it as well. I'll let you know when tiers come out, but there's going to be things like you'll get early access to episodes. So, for example, for this episode 200, you will have heard this 3 weeks ago if you were a Patreon member, because I'll give you it on Patreon as soon as it is edited. You won't have the ads in the episode. Like, there's going to be lots of things you get with it as well. But that's coming in the summer. Anyway, a huge thank you to everyone who supported us for the last 200 episodes. There are many of you that I've spoken to from when I very first started, people like Imitation Dave, people like Skellington Fan, who messaged me within the first couple of episodes, and now, almost 6 years on, they're still listening and they're still part of the show. And everyone else who's joined along the way, you're all wonderful. And I can't thank you enough. And for me, this was the perfect episode and the perfect film for our 200th, because it kind of captures what we are. We're a B-movie, schlocky podcast with our tits out. That's what we are.
Love the analogy.
Yeah, well, people don't come here for us to go, and the musical score was written by this person and they released it on this date. And originally it was going to be used for this movie, but then it wasn't, and it was used for this movie. And the director, he once directed an advert for Jaguar before people don't come here for that. They come here to hear us go, fucking hell, the tits on that, they're amazing. That's why people are here. And I'm not going to change. That's who we are. But
no, of course not. And I want to take this moment as well, Scott, to just say a massive thank you to you. With 200 episodes in, that is a big deal, man. We've come so far. We've done so much shit together, man. You know, and it's strange. You know, like I'm not necessarily somebody who ever envisioned this as being something I would do.
a thing.
You know?
No, me neither.
No, like when you came to me, like the whole reason I started doing my review shit was basically because I had a baby and I was up at 3-4 o'clock in the morning. I know I've spoke about this in great length about many episodes on the podcast, but like I'd be up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I didn't have anything to do with a screaming baby, so I'd watch horror films. I was like, oh, maybe I should do something creative with this and put it into something. So I started writing reviews. I started posting them on Instagram. Didn't think anything of it. It was just something I was doing for myself. I met you. You started liking my stuff. You sort of introduced me to your show. He was like, this is what I do. Come on, be a guest. I did a few episodes. Before you know it, we bonded. We got a friendship. And every Friday night now for the past sort of 4 years, I've been sat here talking shit with you about horror movies. You know, and it's fantastic. And I love it. But like the effort that must go in and the time that you must put in to make this happen for so many people. You know, like for me, I know I talk shit. I know I fucking bitch. And I know I moan. And I know I'm here for the lols. But like for you, you do this and you put so much effort into it. Because like if it was up to me, I wouldn't even be recording this shit now. I'd still be here. I'd still be doing this. And I'd still be having exactly the same conversation with you off air as if I would on air. You know, because I'm here for that kind of reason. But like you then take this, you mold it, you edit it, and you put that content together for everybody else to enjoy. And it's wild, man. And you put so much time and effort into it. And I just want to say a massive thank you to you for everything you do. You know, and I know you feel like, oh, well, you know, I just do what I do. But it's impressive, man, you know, and I just don't want you ever to feel underappreciated, not only by the listeners, but by me, man. I appreciate your effort and your time that you dedicate to make this happen, you know, because it's cool. It's cool, and I enjoy being part of it.
Thank you very much. It's our show. It is truly our show. And then thank you. I don't know what to say to that.
Oh, it's too gay in here.
I'm going to say that. I might round it off with that. Thank you. I mean that genuinely. Thank you. And I love doing this. But anyway, until next time, have a great week. Be good. And if you can't be good, be careful. And we will catch you next week where we are reviewing a bloke who walks through a forest for fucking far too long.
Yes. Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Fuck
Love this movie. Fuck yeah.
Fuck this movie.
You want to die tonight?
Jokes he tells sets the scene. I hang on every word lost in the screen. Your passion for fear is contagious enough. You make me believe in Mark's overblown roundups. You run podcasts or a movie review, unveiling facts and playing games too. Your words paint pictures of darkness and dread, leaving me grinning long after I fled. You run podcasts, horror movie review, unveiling facts and playing games too. Your words paint pictures of darkness and dread, leaving me grinning long after I fled. Thank you for taking us on this chilling ride, when nightmares roll free and comedy collide. With your podcast we laugh and cringe, but your content is so good we can't help but binge. You run podcasts. You run podcasts.
Look at that.